Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about Lizzard Men. Oh, don't write off Lizzard Men as just a story. Many sightings, just as some witnesses aren't very reliable in their testimony. Some people who administer the test, they're not so reliable either. However, there was an instance where an individual who was trained by the FBI Academy, and it taught him to look for signs of emotional distress to help him determine when someone was recovering from a truly traumatic event. And many of the people who reported seeing this Lizzard Man, they were showing all the signs. Let's take one individual. He was a 17-year-old. He was stopped to change a flat tire. It was by the Scape Ore Swamp. Now he was finishing his flat tire fix, popping the flat tire in the trunk when he heard a noise. It was coming from a nearby field. So he thought, I wonder what that is. So he looked out into that darkness, and I saw something I wish he'd never seen. Never, ever seen. He saw a 7-foot-tall creature with red, glowing eyes. And unfortunately, this creature was running right towards him, running on 2 legs. It was running, grunting, growling as it closed in. The young man slammed the trunk, jumped in the car, and sped off down the road. Thank goodness he could speed away in that car. His nightmare's over now, except then he heard a crashing thud above him. He saw a large 3-fingered hand with scales and it's got long claws. And his hand is draping down over the windshield. And another hand was trying to get at his driver's side door. Well, now he was absolutely terrified, beyond belief ever. He swerved the vehicle on the road. Finally, this creature falls off. Now, this young man was in terror, absolute extreme terror. He had no idea what kind of a creature, kind of an animal could run on 2 legs and catch his car when it was traveling at a high rate of speed. He was lucky. He got away, and he's very thankful for that. But this is something he never ever thought he'd ever live through. But he did. He got home and he was shaking and crying, and his parents, of course, sat him down to try and tell him, calm down and tell us what's going on. What happened? Well, Mom and Dad watched this young man grow up, and they knew he wasn't apt to go tell you strange stories just for the sake of hearing himself talk. He was stable and adult-like and avoided constant talk about fantasy things that popped into his head. And the fact that this young man was so distraught, so upset, like they had never seen this young man in his life, they believed that whatever it was real. And he took lie detector tests, a series of questions about the event, and the young man, he answered them without hesitation because this was burned into his mind, something he would never forget for the rest of his life. And of course, many people assumed took something normal and imagined it to be something terrible, except that the people administering the lie detector test, they found out that he really had passed this test with flying colors, and heaven needed to help that young man because he had lived through something absolutely terrible, horrifying, something no one could understand. This young man wasn't the last. The sheriff found out that he was going to get many more reports from the Scape Ore Swamp. Now, this swamp, of course, has had a long history, as most swamps do. Reports of hauntings and the sighting of strange lights and other occurrences, even a nasty large bear or 2. But this was something totally different. Now, doing this all, of course, you found many people out hunting Lizzard Man, hunting with live ammunition. Being a quite dangerous situation. Multiple people in a totally disorganized hunt for a creature that they would be scared as hell of. And their first thought was to shoot first, take pictures second. Then in the middle of all this, they managed to find some idiot who dressed himself up as some kind of a lizard, trying to get attention to himself. And of course, they arrested this idiot, but did begin to cast some doubts. Except when you got witnesses that were absolutely what you would call a credible witness. One witness was a colonel from the Army Corps of Engineers. He reported seeing a half dinosaur, half man running alongside his car late one night. He went and informed the sheriff. He actually even got a counsel. He went and got an attorney. He decided he would not place a formal report on file because he was afraid of what this would do to his career in the military. This individual was actually so prominent in the military, he was up for promotion to general, and he felt that filing this report would be really the end to a very prominent military career that he was enjoying. And you had a woman and their children, they were in a restaurant, and of course they were laughing about Lizzard Man and sightings. This was just funny. Just a guy in a suit, right? Well, of course, these people were on their way home from their meal, and he almost did a very large, nasty-looking, hairy beast. Of course, they immediately drove to the sheriff's office, told the officers what had happened, and of course, they took the family and split them up. They decided they'd question them all at the same time in different places, and all of their information matched. And one more story about Lizzard Man. There was a couple living out in the woods in the area, and they, of course, never had anything unusual happen to them. Never. Just didn't happen to them. They had a great, normal life. Until one night they were up there, they were sleeping in their house, and there was a commotion, rather a large, loud commotion. When they went to investigate, they found out that parts of their car was actually ripped apart. Wires were pulled away from under the hood, and they attributed this to a Lizzard Man attack because it took great strength to rip the front of that car apart. Now, these people had damage to their car, but they eventually found out that they didn't find their cats. Their cats were not in their boxes where they usually slept. They found towels inside, shredded. Overall, being a country state, they grew plants and vegetables. They had a lot of cats around, keep the mice and rodents under control. They lost 20 cats. 20 cats that just disappeared. So the Lizzard Men, they hold quite a place in our history, quite a place in the woods. If you're ever down south, areas where the Lizzard Men have been known to prowl, I'd be absolutely very careful. There's enough verifiable witness testimony that says this is just more than a misidentified bear which was 50 or 60 yards away. These were up close, horrible, frightening encounters, and they were on record. Anyway, that's it for today. Come on, like, subscribe, share with like-minded friends. Feel free to leave a comment. Thanks very much for giving me your time for watching this video. Take care, everybody. Bye for now.